Hey, everybody, this is Troy over at Uncomfortable Truths. Thanks for checking me out. So, we've got pretty crazy news today. It's something that I've been waiting to happen here really since we got the Colorado Supreme Court ruling on basically, it was a 4-3 ruling that Donald Trump would be taken off of the ballot. And so, this is Trump's response to the United States Supreme Court. So, this is coming from the New York Times. It was an article that just came out a little bit ago, written by Adam Liptak. And it's Trump asks the Supreme Court to keep him on the ballot in Colorado. I'm going to go ahead and throw the full article there in the description. If you have time, I really recommend you check it out. It's not very long, and there's a lot of really great information in there. So I recommend that you check it out. But anyway, jumping right into this, this is from the article. It says former President Donald Trump asked the U.S. Supreme Court on Wednesday to keep him on the primary ballot in Colorado, appealing an explosive ruling from the state Supreme Court declaring him ineligible based on his efforts to overturn the 2020 election that culminated in the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. The cases turn on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, adopted after the Civil War, and it bars those who had taken an oath to support the Constitution of the United States from holding office if they then shall have engaged in an insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. So Colorado, in a 4-3 vote, ruled just earlier, I guess last month now in December, that this provision in the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, did apply to Mr. Trump and that he was ineligible for another term. Now, this is something that I think is a horrible decision. I think the court was incorrect, but the United States Supreme Court will actually go and almost certainly take a look at this case, and we'll have the final ruling on whether or not he is on the ballot. So the article then goes in to talk a little bit about what Trump's response basically is to these accusations. And I honestly don't think that all of these arguments are great. I think far and away the best argument is his first argument coming right out of the gate. So Mr. Trump's petition attacked the ruling on many grounds, and he said the events culminating in the assault on the Capitol on January 6th were not an insurrection, and even if they were, he himself had not engaged in insurrection. So I think that this is far and away the best argument that former President Donald Trump can make. He says, well, look, I was telling people to come and have, a protest. I was saying that, yeah, we should do these things, but I in no way was advocating for like a violent insurrection. I mean, insurrection, when it was in the Constitution, I mean, we're talking about Confederates that literally were trying to overthrow the United States government. Like they didn't want anything to do with it. To say that a violent riot really rise to that same level, I really question that. Like we all watched on January 6th and saw people, breaking into the Capitol. And I think a lot of us have questions about like, how was this, allowed to happen? Like it was really disturbing to watch, but I don't think that it really rises to the level of an insurrection. And I think that you would have to prove that Donald Trump was actually aiding and abetting those actions in order to make that claim. So I think just on these grounds, the court should overturn the decision made by the United States Supreme Court should overturn the Colorado Supreme Court's decision and leave Trump on the ballot. I think that this should really be left up to the American people. And it really is up for debate because we haven't had a criminal charge actually stick to Trump that he was in fact guilty of insurrection. So I don't really understand why you would want somebody who hasn't been found guilty to be barred from running when they meet all of the other requirements. But anyway, he does go on to make further defense here. And the second defense is that he's saying that Section 3 doesn't apply to him because he had not taken the relevant kind of oath. And he said the presidency was not one of the offices from which oath-breaking officials were barred. Now, this is a valid legal argument to make, but I do question whether or not this is like really the best argument to really come out from a political standpoint, because to me, it's pretty clear that this doesn't rise to the level of insurrection, especially you haven't been found guilty of it. So to say like, well, hey, look, I'm not actually required in this oath to follow this anyway, I just think that it's a bad look. I mean, the president of the United States, I think almost everybody would agree that, yeah, you should certainly be upholding the Constitution. I think that that's something that, all Americans would agree on, or all people, that want to uphold our rule of law would want to have on that. So that one point is one that I guess I just don't find it to be as strong as his initial point that, hey, this was an insurrection and I didn't participate in it. Because to me, that's really the crux of the argument. So this provision hasn't ever been used to disqualify a presidential candidate, but the article does point out that it has been used recently on cases that involved other elected officials after the January 6th attacks. So I do want to kind of stop here for a second and point out that why, if you're able to bring charges against these other people and say, hey, look, these charges have stuck to you, so then you're not allowed, to run for office. It's unconstitutional. To me, that makes sense. We have the 14th Amendment, and that's something that we certainly have to, give credit to, and something that we have to enforce. But the difference is you haven't actually had the former president accused of these things. Like, you can't start taking away people's rights, and especially when it's the former president of the United States, who is currently the leading candidate for the presidency in the polls, and say, hey, look, you're not allowed on the ballot, despite the fact that you haven't had a jury trial. Like, we've had a couple of bench trials, and even in the Colorado decision, like, the Supreme Court didn't go over the facts. They just accepted the facts before. Well, the facts are in question. If we certainly knew that, yes, Trump committed an insurrection, he aided and abetted those that did, then we wouldn't really need to be here. It'd be a cut and dry case, but that isn't what we have. So those people that are trying to just say, hey, well, look, you saw it for yourself, what happened? Well, yeah, even the Supreme Court in Colorado was a 4-3 decision. So to say that this is a cut and dry case where we know that he committed, insurrection against the United States, we certainly don't. So even if you don't like Donald Trump, your commitment to democracy, if you are somebody that believes in democracy, should actually be to say, hey, look, we need to either find this guy guilty in court of insurrection or of aiding and abetting or giving aid to those who were involved. Otherwise, he's eligible to run. It doesn't matter if I don't like him personally. It doesn't matter if I think he's a horrible candidate. It doesn't matter if I disliked his tenure when he was president before. The fact remains, I am committed to democracy, so I'm not going to take my political opponents off of the ballot when they haven't been demonstrated to have actually committed an insurrection. So anyway, everybody, we're going to keep on top of this. I think this is extremely important. I'm very interested in what everybody has to say. Go ahead and throw your comments below. I get through them as quick as I can. I've been talking to a lot of you on there, and I appreciate the heck out of it. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe. It helps out the show a lot. We've been growing like crazy, and so I just want to give a thank you to everybody that's been watching the show. It really means a lot. So anyway, everybody, thank you very much, and I look forward to talking to you here soon. Take care.